Good evening, everybody. Today is May 3rd, 2022, and I am the chairman of the Sewer Commission, Dave McDonald. And before we start this meeting tonight, I just want to do our little housekeeping in accordance to the requirements of the open meeting law. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and can be found on the Lunenburg YouTube access channel within 24 hours of the meeting. This public meeting is being conducted remotely. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to join and participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link to join the meeting and the web bar, which can be found on the town webpage. Or from a telephone, dial toll-free at 888-475-4499 and enter web bar ID 766-316-7607. If you're not registered with Zoom, you'll be asked for your name and email address. No participant ID is needed. Just press the pound sign when asked. So we start. John, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Is there a flag there? I can't see anything, but
You got it.
anyway. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for
for
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
liberty, and
and justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you, John. And hey, Brett, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming. I know this is a short notice. And the reason why we're having this meeting is that, as we all know, town meeting is this coming Saturday at 9 o'clock at the high school / middle school. There were some questions I noticed on Facebook. I know we have some agenda items that we're going to talk about, but that was the main thing. I want to give everyone an opportunity of what we exactly are doing, as we will later on tonight at the select board meeting, and as we will on Sunday at the town meeting, Saturday at the town meeting. So before we start, I'd just like to know, is there any public comment from the public? And Bob, I don't see, I can't see.
I don't see any hands.
Okay, and is there any public comment from the board? Mike? No?
All good.
Brett?
None here. Thank you.
John?
No,
Mike Reynolds? John? Brett?
I said none here. Thank you.
Okay, and John Reynolds?
Oh, Sean.
no comment here.
Okay, and Mike Devakis?
Nope.
Okay, so tonight there are no appointments on the agenda. We just want to talk about our article for town meeting. And Bob, I'm going to let you explain the article and then we can all jump in. But has everybody got a copy of the article in the commission? I'm sure you have. It's going to be Article 25. Now, there's a lot going on this article. I think what most people want to question is, what is it? So, Bob, I don't know if you want to put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I can do that.
For the folks who are tuning in, Barbara's going to call you when your hand is raised. And I think you may want to go to the short version, Barb. There you go. So Bob, why don't you explain that and we'll take it over from there.
Okay. And excuse me, we do have 3 other articles, so if anyone has questions on budgeting, just say so at the end. Article 25 is to revise the bylaw. We have been informed by different groups that we're one of the very few towns that has such a strict easement restriction, such as there are none for any sewer connections. So between the past DPW director and council, we were given the suggestion to revise the bylaw to allow the clarification that inclusion of a property in the sewer service area does not constitute entitlement to a sewer connection and must still be subject to available capacity limitations, and sewer commission approval. That had not been clearly stated before, so that it was a part of the bylaw. Creating an exception sorry, to prohibiting sewer connections via easement, provided that that and only if the following criteria are satisfied, the property must still be in the sewer service area. And that can only be expanded by town meeting vote. That connections through an easement must be across adjoining properties. That the process requires the issuance of a waiver, which is also going to be added as section 10 in Article 25. And upon findings by the commission of emergency circumstances justifying the easement, that the ability to connect to public sewer is causing undue hardship, or that allowing the easement is deemed to be in the best interest of town and consistent with the purpose and objectives of the sewer bylaw. We are also otherwise clarifying that the commission has authorization to adopt rules and regs under the bylaw and amend them following a public hearing with notice published at least 5 days in advance with subsequent postings on the commission's website. This was previously that it required 2 televised hearings. We just found that dragged out the process very long. It used to then have to cover 2 months. So limiting it to 1 public hearing. And that's the simplified version.
Okay. Now, when we, as a board, discussed this article, I know we had our attorneys go and write it, and the intent is still there, what we all talked about before, which is that we are one of the only towns that still does not have easements. We are trying to service our customers. We thought at the time, and still do, that we would feel that this is a fair, adequate solution to some people in town. And I'll give you an example of what we're looking to do. And again, the commission knows, but we had a customer online that had his house off the property, I should say in the middle of nowhere. He has a driveway that goes up to Mass Ave. He has access to bring his driveway with his car, but he has no access to bring a utility down to his house because he doesn't own the driveway. Now, we're trying to be fair and trying to help him at the time, but he paid a betterment as well. So that's the intent of this policy. And I think we can open it up to first to the board. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Seeing none, let's open it up to the public. And Bob, if you can, let's take them by anybody who's raising their hands. And I see Mr. Alonso. That's all I see, Bob.
Yes, yep.
All right,
Mr.
thank you.
Alonso.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Tom Alonso, 284 Lancaster Avenue, and also Chair of the Select Board. I wanted to go first because you will be meeting with, I think you, Mr. McDonald, will be on the Select Board meeting at 7, where there were going to be questions. I will share with you what my questions are, having read through this and now having heard the explanation that Barbara just gave in the summary. So I'll be brief on each of these. On the first modification to, and I'm using the town meeting warrant booklet. So in section I, or 1, Roman numeral 1, the last sentence that's added, it says neither the boundaries of the sewer commission area nor this requirement that a property be located within that sewer service area be eligible to connect may be waived. Now, my only question here is we use the word property there, where in the beginning of that paragraph to be added, it says property or portion of a property. And I just want to make sure that they are meaning, in this case, the same thing.
Mr. Alonso, what page are you on? I'm sorry.
Right there, right what Barbara has on the screen, right there.
Yeah,
The
right
last-
there.
The last sentence in bold
Okay,
is, which starts with the word neither. The use of the word property, that a property be located within. So we know, as is indicated in the beginning of the bold paragraph, that there are properties and there are portions of properties that are in the district, depending on what property is up for discussion. And I just want to make sure that that last sentence doesn't, make that less clear. That neither the boundaries of the sewer service area, nor the requirement that a property be located within this said sewer district, sewer service area be eligible. It sounds like there could be conflict between those two. And again, I'll leave it to town council, but that is a question I had. And, you know, one piece would be, one potential solution would be that where you have the word property in the last sentence, you continue with the phrase or portion of a property, comma, be in, because we want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. I don't want anybody to misinterpret that if a portion of the property is in, somebody could look at another part of that property, that same property, and look for sewer service there.
Yeah, we all agree with that, Mr. Alonso, and we will bring that up to council, but that's a good point because we do have some properties in town where only, I'll take your parcel, for example, in your house. You may only be eligible to have sewer on half your property. And that's something that we'd like to address too, but not at this meeting here. But I understand your concerns as well as ours, but we're gonna have to ask town council on Saturday to change that or define it for us.
Okay.
But we're in agreement, so for sure.
And the only other one, so I see, I highlighted in, if you go to section 2, Barbara, just thought, right. So that notwithstanding, that last sentence notwithstanding, so I realized that you're carving out a new section 10 that has to do with waivers. I guess I have a question about this last sentence, only because it says that easements must be installed across adjoining properties, and I would ask, what other kind of properties, how else would you get the sewer there if there weren't for adjoining properties? Like, you're going out of your way to define adjoining properties, but in order to get an easement, you'd have to come from an adjoining property unless there's something else I'm not understanding.
No, you understand that as well as mine. My understanding is exactly that. If we could take a look at that house that we talked about on Mass Ave, yes, you have to go across somebody else's property, which is an adjoining property. So it's the piggyback effect. So to get sewer to this gentleman's house, you would have to go to an adjacent property.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
But let me make one thing clear. I don't think you're going to go across 5 different people's properties. These are mainly hardship cases where you're in the sewer district and you're blocked by something. And in this case, it's a driveway.
Okay. So my only other question is on that new section 10, which gives, of course, very broad powers to the sewer commission in its sole discretion. And I'm okay. I mean, there may be some people who have objections. It raised my attention when I read it, that it would only come to here, but I would bring up the following things. First of all, if it's a hardship and it's in the best interest, I think if you're going to make a waiver that's a special exception, then I would assert that you probably want a supermajority and not a majority. So I think you'd want, if it's so clear, then I would say that you'd want 4 of the 5, just like this ZBA, when they issue special permits, they need to have a supermajority.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to give somebody this kind of power, you really want to be a supermajority of the commission to agree with this. Would be,
Mr. Alonso, I agree with that as well, but I also want to make it clear that this is a sewer commission and hopefully sewer commissions in the future that have one goal in mind, to service our customers and to serve them the best way as we can. The sewer commission right now, we can't promote or deny access to sewer. We're a utility company. If the planning board approves a project, then we're going to approve that project as well. That's our job.
yeah,
Our
but
job
this
is to
isn't,
service our customers.
that's fair. I don't mean to interrupt you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. I just want to point out that this particular section has to do with waivers, and those waivers, at least in the summary that was read before we started the discussion, talked about hardships. Now I'm for hardships, where people find themselves in a position where they have no option, and it will be a financial burden for them to do anything but get an easement across somebody's property. That is not the same thing as project that the planning board has approved, like you just indicated, that may be a larger project. Projects shouldn't be, deemed hardships to people. I mean, certainly residences would, or could, but not commercial endeavors or large scale projects should not be part of the waiver process. Because it doesn't fall onto the emergency exemption that you're looking for, emergency circumstances that are discussed here.
Even the word emergency to me is kind of, and again, it is what it is, but it's a situation where would I call that property that was denied sewer an emergency? I don't know, Bob, do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't think it's an emergency. It's probably the right thing to do. But sooner or later, that property won't be able to support a septic system. And they should be able to have access, the way it should be done, have access to sewer. So
Well, that,
I think we only have a few customers in town where this whole article would even be brought up. Am I right on that, Bob, by saying that?
Yeah, and this waiver language was put in, and it's not only just for easements, but it's to give the sewer commission discretion at any time on someone's hardship or emergency, that the commission has the right to look at it, and always following Mass General Law or any other regulation, of course, allow something to happen that is otherwise not stated or allowed in our regs. It's a waiver to give the commission some discretion, not always for an easement, but to be applied.
No,
when
right,
necessary.
no, it's not just for an easement, I understand, but it should, I mean, in my mind, so the other thing I don't understand, it's not clear on this, is on your summary, you kind of indicated, and I guess I would ask that first as a point of clarity. You indicated that, or it seemed to indicate that all points that were listed in that summary would need to be met for it to be approved, meaning that somebody would have to show it is an emergency circumstance and it is a hardship to do anything otherwise, and it's in the best interest of the town. The way this is written, it would seem to be the or that's not true, that any one of these would have to be met, only one of them. And so the first question I'd have, is that true or is that not true?
Barbara, can you throw that one back up? You're muted, Barb.
Sorry. Here's how it is stated in the bylaw. It's going before everyone. I'm just trying to see where the ors might apply. Adopted here under due to emergency circumstances as may cause undue hardship, or as the commission may deem in the best interests.
So
So,
it's the last or as the commission may deem in the best interest would seem to group the first two together and the last one as a separate item. And one of those, either the first two criteria have to be true or the last one, but it wouldn't have to be all three.
That's the way I understand it. Bob, can you throw that back on the screen?
the synopsis.
Yes.
And while she's pulling
Yeah.
that up, I want to make clear to everybody listening and everybody on the commission that any of my comments here do not have anything to do with the current makeup of the commission. It has to do with the commission's powers in perpetuity, well beyond anybody else's expectations of who else might be on the board. It just has to do with the abstract powers of the commission. So I just don't want anybody to take anything personally.
Oh, no, we're not at all. But I presume that after Saturday's meeting, Bob, do you have that on, popping up on the screen?
What do you want me to have up?
The document that Tom just talked about?
The synopsis you did at the beginning of tonight's meeting.
It should be there now.
No,
I thought it was. Stop share. It says sharing. New share?
We're still seeing the bylaw document itself.
Okay. Is it there now?
Yep.
There we
Okay.
go.
And this was, well, I did involve council to make sure, but I did say in this simplification via easement, I was just trying to alleviate some of the concerns about easements necessarily. So I was addressing it more towards that, but I noticed in that creating an exemption to prohibiting sewer commissions by easement. I was just clarifying or trying to make it clear what has to happen for a waiver. But it's a waiver for any kind of occurrence.
Okay.
Also, Dave, Mary Wilson has her hand raised, and I don't know if,
Tom, do you have any more questions? So we can, I know you got a selectman meeting to go to.
Well, I just wanted to point out this, so I will bring that up at the selectmen meeting, that waiver section. And also the point that I think that there should be a supermajority, and it should be, if you're gonna have a waiver, there should be a requirement for a public hearing for a waiver request should be a public hearing. Those are the 3 items. And I will discuss that more at our meeting, but I'll let other people speak here.
Okay, I appreciate
thank
it.
you, Mr. Chair. Yep,
Thank you, Tom.
thanks.
Okay, Bob.
Good to see you, Tom.
thanks.
Mary Wilson has her hand raised.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mary Wilson. I live on Whiting Street here in town. My questions were kind of aligned with Tom's. I was curious about the checks and balances that would be in place because the waiver process, at least as I understood it, seemed to be pretty broad, right, at the discretion of the sewer commission. So I was curious about the checks and balances on that. We got Mr. Alonso got us pretty far along the way, but I think I'm still trying to understand as this is currently written, are there any checks and balances, or is this really at the sole discretion of the sewer commission?
I think they have to fall within some of these guidelines. So if you're in the sewer commission, if you're in a sewer district right now, and you have a piece of property that you have frontage of a house, but you don't have access to it, either because somebody owns the driveway that you're in or something like that, yeah, you should be able to come to the commission and say, hey, how can I get a utility to my house that I'm paying a betterment for? That's what it's designed for, Mary.
Okay, but are there other circumstances that are outside of that this would maybe even inadvertently provide the ability to get a waiver for? So like for commercial projects and whatnot, it seems like it would by the current language.
I don't see any at the top of my, I know the town pretty well. I don't see that. I know we have a few customers that fall into the category that this was written for. But you know, I'll be honest with you, if something came up, that's why we do have a public meeting on it to discuss it. It's not, we're gonna be sitting there approving it. We have to go through the whole, and even on that person who has a hardship case, we still bring it up to the public. So it's not like we're gonna be sitting there writing out easements in the back room.
So in the waiver process, it doesn't seem to say that. It really does seem to be pretty broad. So I was looking for the language that directed us to understanding that these cases would need to have a public vote.
Yeah, no, and trust me, we understand that on the commission. When we, as a commission, decided to do this, Barbara sat down with our attorneys, and this is the attorney language. So we have to sit down with our attorney and go through it, which we will do, and write it the way, because we have the same questions. But this is attorney talk.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is that you also are not clear on where the requirements are written in the proposed language.
Where we know what we want, well, we're gonna make sure that if we have questions like you're asking us, that it's written down. And, it's just a couple of things we gotta put in there. Bob, am I right on that? You're muted, Barb.
Yes, yeah,
So I mean, the best thing to do is when we pass along to our attorneys, and because of the deadlines, this is what came out, and he's not that far off. It just needs, I think the supermajority is a great idea. I mean, we try to do all our decisions within our meetings, that anybody can come. But I think it's also time that we start doing this. We should start caring about the customers who I think have been left out, either by a mistake or by oversight. And that's what this commission is trying to do.
Oh, yeah, I think yeah, no problem there, right? Definitely, we don't want to have, you having to deny customers that are just, like the situation you brought up with your, they don't own the driveway kind of circumstance, right? But I'm thinking about it from a kind of okay, well, what else might be coming along as an unintended consequence that maybe brings undesirable results? And uncontrolled checks and balances, right? Not having the checks there is the thing that I tend to look for when I look at new regulations. So that was a concern of mine.
We're also looking at it as far, and let's go back to your new development. If a new development comes in, I don't see our commission giving any waivers on anything that's new coming in. That would be up to them to try to work that out. The intent on this was for existing customers that are in line right now within the sewer district.
You've answered all my questions. Thank you.
Hey, you have a great evening, Mary. Thank you very much for the questions.
Chris St. Germain has his hand up, his or her.
Yeah, actually, I think Mary nailed most of my concerns. I just want to reiterate that I think what you're trying to do is, and for who is great. That landowner that is just struggling to get hooked up. Mary and I are on the same page in terms of we're concerned about large parcels that could be developed, but it sounds like you're not intending to do. That's not what this is intending to do. We just need the verbiage to make sure that that isn't exploited. So.
Listen, Chris, I think we all, again, on the sewer commission, we can't advocate or deny any projects. But on the other hand, we're watching all projects. If they get approved by planning board and go through the channels, and if they're entitled to their rights to do it, then they'll have sewer. Like I say, we're a utility company as well. But I don't see us giving any easements at all for something like that.
Okay. Just don't want to give them the opportunity.
No, but you know what, Chris, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're in town. That's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else out there, Bob?
Nope, that was the last hand raised.
So,
Sorry, Dave, I can't figure out how to raise my hand.
Matt Allison. Okay.
hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
It's so officially Mr. Allison. Go ahead.
Yes, Matt Allison, 188 Flat Hill. I'm also on planning board. I find myself agreeing with Mr. Alonso and the previous speakers as well. You said it's not for new construction, the waivers. I believe that's what you just said.
Yep.
So I think that should be clearly stated in the bylaw. Not for new construction, waivers not for new construction.
Like I say, we're going to have our attorney on Saturday. I know you're going to be there, discuss it. But yeah, I agree with that. Anybody on the board disagree with that? You can just shake your hand there. I don't think anyone disagrees with what you're saying at all.
Okay, very good.
Well,
Hold on, Brett.
I can't help but think if I owned a piece of property, and I know it doesn't make sense to go with new properties, but if I had a piece of property that was pure ledge or soaking wet and could get a building permit, if I was able to get a sewer connection through my neighbor who was happy to allow an easement.
Now that might fall under the emergency situation.
Right, okay.
Mr. Allison, what do you
Just,
think of that one?
but if it's new construction and we
Yeah.
write in no new construction, then he's out. Do you see where I'm coming?
Yeah,
What I think about that is that there's a lot of undeveloped properties that are within the service area, I believe. Not only that, the Seward area is about half of the total service area, I believe, give or take.
You know,
Um,
I think Brett brings up a good point. We'll have to talk to the attorneys on that on Saturday. But right now, the intent is exactly what we just said.
Sure. Well,
Right.
and also following along with Mr. Alonso's comments was, I think they should be all three rather than or. I mean, emergencies and emergencies is pretty clear. Your septic system fails, you've got no area for a reserve system. That's pretty clear. It's a public health issue. Undue hardship. I don't think that if you've got an existing undeveloped lot that has been found in the service, has been classified as the sewer service area, that would be an undue hardship that you,
Well, what if that's something you have a right to build on and there's no other option?
well, no, if you've got a piece of property that was developed before zoning, then you are allowed by right one house regardless. So there's no hardship there.
Okay,
I think what Brett is saying is, what is that property can't support a septic system, and the only way to get a pipe to his house would be going across a driveway that he doesn't own.
correct.
Again, zoning says that if you own a piece of property that was an existing lot prior to zoning, that you are guaranteed a house, one house.
Yeah, but you know how you guarantee utilities?
Well, a house requires a septic. I'm not quite sure exactly how that works, but there has to be there are variances
It's
to,
not, that's not true.
Well, that's,
A house,
that's the-
a house may not support a septic system. That's what sewer is there for. So I guess the question is, you buy a piece of property, you have it tested and it doesn't support a septic system, and the only way to get sewer up there would be to go through a driveway. I mean, I think Brett's asking a very good question,
okay, sure.
but I think the odds of that, from what I've seen since I've been on the sewer commission, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Barb, have you?
No,
You know, so I mean.
no, I just,
but
the world
it's
I
there.
live in, I see a lot of things that you just never expect.
No, I like that, and I appreciate that, Brett. That's a good point. Well, maybe, Matt, we can come up with some kind of verbiage for that too as well.
Oh, sure. No, I plan on attending the selectmen's meeting later on tonight as well.
What we're trying not to do, though, is to bring easements all over town. It's just for, and I think I talked to you this offline, we have maybe 9 customers in town that this might affect, so. But it finishes a cycle of completion as far as what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
And that is service all the people who are paying either betterments now or deserve sewer because of one reason or another.
so I guess, I thought I had 2 more comments, but I got one that I can remember is, I honestly don't think that this should be a warrant article at town meeting when we don't have a DPW director to speak to it or answer questions.
Okay, well, then vote no. I don't know what to tell you. We don't have a DPW director.
Okay, sure.
It's kind of common sense stuff. Now, I can tell you that our last DPW director was the one who helped us do this. He was shocked that we didn't have easement policy in town. So if that means anything, he was one of the initiating drives to do this, because as a board, we went to him and talked about our deficiencies and said, what can we do to help our customers? And he's the first one who said, this is what we can do. So, yeah, actually, Rob helped design this. Our attorneys did the drafting of the letters, which is Adam Costa. He'll be there Saturday.
and also just as the general waiver, also just giving the discretion to the sewer commission as well. Many towns do have that kind of clause there, so that in odd circumstances, the sewer commission has the power.
And these are all discussed in open meetings, of course.
Right. Chris St. Germain has his hand up again.
Thank you, Dave.
Matt, you all set?
Yes, thank you.
right, thanks, buddy. We'll see you later. Chris, go ahead.
You're muted.
Chris, you're on the air.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that my address is 268 Flat Hill Road, the last time I spoke, so I just wanted to let you know that. So on the vote, how can we vote yes on Saturday with it written, like we all say that we want a few changes in there, so on Saturday, those changes won't be in there, so as is now, I would vote no until I saw the verge fix, so how's that gonna work on Saturday?
I think right at this point, we're going to talk about everything that we're talking about tonight with our attorneys present. I'm hoping that he would take notes and make the adjustments along the way. But it's up to you at the bottom line. I mean, if you feel that we're doing the right thing, then you vote yes. If you don't trust it, vote
I
no.
didn't understand that you were gonna have those changes done by Saturday, if that's the case, that makes.
I don't think we will. Bob, you think we can get that done by Saturday? Probably.
No, it's the article is the article that will go before town meeting, but we can vote on amendments to it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, Chris, hold on. That's right. We can make the amendments on the floor, can't we?
Yes.
There you go, Chris.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anybody else out there have questions? Seeing none, Bob, you see any?
No, I don't, and I was trying to find if John was coming back, but I think his phone's gone because he's not even answering that.
I want to
Got
thank
no other
everybody.
hands.
I want to thank everybody who asked questions tonight. I appreciate it. We will be on the select board meeting at 7:20. We'll be doing this again on Saturday morning. Article number 25, which I don't know what time that's going to be. It's probably going to be anywhere from 9 to 5. So I haven't seen the consent agenda yet. Bob, with you?
No, I did ask Heather, but I have not. Oop, the consent calendar has been agreed to, includes Articles 12 and 13. So we will be part of our two main budget articles are part of the consent calendar. OPEB funding was combined with regular alternate consent. So our 3 budget articles will be part of the consent calendar. So
So
all
our
we will
article-
have is Article 25.
Which is what we just talked about now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, if there's any more questions, I'd be looking for a public comment. Is there any more last minute public comment from the public? Seeing none, is there any public comment from the board? Seeing none, to the board, I want to thank you very much for coming in on this. I know it was short notice, but again, we want to make sure our customers and the residents of Lunenburg understood what we as a commission are trying to do. I just want to say I'm very proud of all you guys. We've done a great job on the sewer commission over the last year, and it's been a tough year with COVID. So thank you guys for letting the business run. And also I want to say a special thank you to Barbara and Jane, who helped run the sewer not only over the last years, but since we haven't had a DPW director, they've been taking on that extra responsibility and everything's been running like a clockwork. And I also want to thank Joe Projan, who single-handedly is running that DPW department along with his employees and staff. He's doing a great job. So Joe, if you can hear me, a big thank you from the sewer commission to you for doing a great job. Bob, do you have any last minute comments?
Nope, I am all set. I didn't know Matt put his hand up and then removed it, so I'm assuming he's okay now.
Maybe he's practicing how to work the hand on the thing. That's good.
Nope, he's back.
Matt, you have a question?
You're muted.
I'm muted.
Yeah, no, I wanted to brag that I did find the raise hand feature. And I also commend this group. I understand that revising bylaws is a very difficult process and you're not even halfway there yet. Town meeting is where the rubber hits the road. So best of luck to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. With that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
and looking for a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. All in favor, Mike Knoll,
Aye.
Mike Devakis,
Aye.
Brett Ramson.
Aye.
I think John, we lost John. Is that right, Bob?
Yes.
Okay. John says aye. And I from myself. Thank you very much. Don't forget the town meeting is this Saturday. It starts at 9 o'clock. And we want to thank everybody for participating tonight. And one last thing, I hope you can all say a little prayer for the people in Ukraine for what they're going through right now. So with that, Barb, I'll see you in 20 minutes.
All
Hi, guys.
right. Thank
Good night, Lunenburg. Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.